It's Thursday, the 7th of December 2023. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
All right, Sean, 5 stories in 5 minutes. Story number 1, the economy expanded by just 0.2% in the 3 months to the end of September, demonstrating the increasing toll that higher interest rates are having on households.
In short, Australian living standards are now at their lowest level in 8 years, thanks to high inflation, rising interest rates and high taxes. Bureau of Statistics economic growth figures released yesterday show that the annual rate of growth is 2.1%, which is lower than the 30-year average. Growth per capita fell to minus 0.5%. What's that mean? Well, the population grew so quickly that if you measure growth per person, we've gone backwards. It's called a per capita recession. As the Bureau's head of national accounts, Catherine Keenan, put it, it was the 8th straight rise in quarterly GDP, but growth has slowed over 2023. In the most recent quarter, government spending and investment were okay. What was missing? The consumer. Why? Because of high interest rates.
So clearly then, Sean, the consumer sector is finding all these rate rises over the past 19 months just a bit tough.
Yep, and it's showing through in the national accounts. There's lots of moving parts. For example, government rebates on electricity meant spending on energy dropped, but the Women's World Cup boosted transport and eating out. Put all that together, clearly household spending has slowed over the past year. Discretionary spending's down, essential spending is flatlining. Real household disposable income fell for the 8th consecutive quarter as cost of living pressures hit household budgets, and that's why living standards are at low levels. Interesting to note, household savings ratio is now 1.1%, the lowest since 2007.
And what about inflation, Sean? What do the national accounts say about that? And I suppose, what kind of insight does it give us into interest rates?
Yeah, so broadly, the inflation measures were about the same as the consumer price index measures. If anything, the numbers yesterday, those inflation numbers, along with the fact that the economy was slower than expected, adds to the case for no more rate hikes.
All right, moving on to story number 2 now. National Cabinet met yesterday, Sean, and the outcome is tens of billions of dollars more in hospital funding and GST top-ups from the Commonwealth. In return, the states will support NDIS reforms.
On a net basis, I think the states ended up better off. The meeting was all about the NDIS funding. As a result of the agreement between the feds and the states, the National Disability Insurance Scheme will be restored as a scheme for permanently and significantly disabled, as originally envisaged. Foundational support, such as those for kids with mild autism or early developmental challenges, which is rendering the NDIS unsustainable, will no longer be included. Now, treatment for those conditions will be via a new scheme to be funded by the states and the Commonwealth. Canberra will extend GST top-up payments beyond 2027. It'll put more money into Medicare, increase its share of funding of state hospitals. The states, in return, will up their funding of the NDIS.
Okay, story number 3. Australia Post has finally bitten the bullet and said no one across the country will get daily mail deliveries anymore, but parcel deliveries will be dropped off every 24 hours.
Times have changed. Aussie Post recorded a $200 million loss last financial year, and its priority has shifted to parcels in an effort to not go out of business. In fact, Aussie Post delivered 500 million parcels last year. In a recent trial, Australia Post got posties to skip some letter routes and deliver parcels. Now, parcel deliveries went up by 20%. So now Aussie Post said nowhere across the country will there be daily post deliveries. Mind you, stamps are going up, $120 to $150 next year, subject to the ACCC approval.
Story number 4 is all about local markets, Sean. It was a boom day yesterday with the S&P ASX 200 rallying the most in more than a year.
Around 85% of the top 200 stocks closed higher. By the end, the benchmark was up not that far off 2% to 7,178 points. All 11 sectors closed higher. It's all about interest rates and the growing belief in the market, particularly after yesterday's economic growth figures, that there won't be any more interest rate rises. Interest rate sensitives like the real estate investment trust, the banks, the tech stocks, they all did really well. Companies that jumped sharply yesterday, Mirvac, Dexus, Scentre Group, they're all property companies. Goodman rallied as well. That's another property company. BHP did well. All the banks did well. Coles, Woolies, Wesfarmers, energy giants Woodside, Santos, and a bunch of tech stocks like Computershare, WiseTech Global, and Xero. Big day for the market.
Yeah, certainly was. Last one, story number 5. US President Joe Biden says he may have decided to serve just one term if Donald Trump were not seeking to return to the White House.
The 81-year-old president said Trump poses a grave threat to American democracy. And I quote, "If Trump wasn't running, I'm not sure I'd be running. But but we cannot let him win for the sake of our country, end quote. The president has recently stepped up his warnings that Trump would dismantle the US's democratic institutions, roll back laws that allow more people to access healthcare, and push more restrictions on abortion rights. The problem for Biden with his comment is that it plays into worries about his age and lack of voter appetite for a Biden-Trump rematch. In fact, polls have shown most Democrats don't want Biden to be their party's nominee due to concerns about his ability to handle the job. For his part, Trump said he didn't think Biden would make it physically through the grueling campaign ahead. He went on to say that his rival's mental state was possibly equally as bad or even worse than his physical state.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Thursday, the 7th of December, 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. If 5 minutes isn't long enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed Business News, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.